Hey everybody, how you doing out there today? This is your Uncle Steve back on our version of the Sunday Chill. Joining you here on this first weekend of May. Beautiful day outside. Hope you all got a chance to enjoy today. Now it's time to sit back, relax, and talk a little sports, talk a little entertainment with your Uncle Steve. A lot of things on tap today, talking about local sports, talking about the heat of the Braves. Talk about the ice cold of the Atlanta Hawks over the last couple of days. And then also talking about my big question today in lieu of the big Michael Jackson biopic that came out and is raking in millions and millions worldwide. What artists do you want to see next in the big major biopic? Michael has broken the record for opening. Let's see what ideas you have for the next big movie person coming on, whether it be music, whether it be, I don't know, just entertainment, period. Who's on your mind? We'll talk about a lot of that and more when we come back on Uncle Steve's Lounge.
You're in Uncle Steve's Lounge. You're in Uncle Steve's Lounge.
All right, what's going on, y'all? How are you today? I am Uncle Steve, and we welcome you into Uncle Steve's Lounge, coming back on a Sunday Chill episode on May 3rd, 2026, as we are transitioning a little bit, getting ready to go into the summertime, a few weeks away from Memorial Day, school closing, all that good stuff, and getting into the time of the season that, quite honestly, is a little hard for me. Because as much as I'm a sports fan, and I am, it's a little tough right now. First of all, before I even get started, thank you for joining us here on Uncle Steve's Lounge. As you come in, whether you're on YouTube, we appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. Please hit the like button and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to Uncle Steve's Lounge, we give you a little bit of local fare on the sports scene here. And then also, we're joining you on Facebook. Thank you all for joining me on Facebook. I appreciate you checking us out here on this Sunday. And to those of you watching on X, thank you again for joining us here on this Sunday Chill. Now, I don't know about you all. I don't know. It takes a genius to figure out. I'm just a huge Atlanta Falcons fan. And I could probably say a huge NFL fan. So we'll put it out there. This is like one of the hardest times for me because now with the draft over with and most of the free agent stuff, we're going to talk a little bit about free agency. Most of the free agent stuff over with. This is kind of like that dead part of the year. You know what I mean? Like being a big Atlanta Falcons fan. I love some Braves. I love the Hawks. We'll talk about them in a second. United, when they win, I'm like, cool. I actually watched a little bit of the Montreal game yesterday. Good. What went down early, 3 straight goals. Good stuff for Atlanta United, 2 wins in a row, 2 MLS wins in a row. Good stuff from them. Atlanta Dream getting ready to kick off. Look good early. I think this preseason they didn't play their starters in the second half, but I look forward to seeing what they're going to do. But being a football guy at heart, it's just hard because when I turn on Sunday and baseball is fine with me, but it doesn't do it for me. You know, it doesn't really do it for me. I get into the playoffs. And of course, if the Braves are on a heater, as they are now, it's easy to, turn back and forth. They're up 8-6 as we speak right now in the top of the 9th. Hopefully they can add another run or two because Colorado just isn't going away. But this is that dead part of the year after the draft. Now, I know we'll have the schedule release, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, in the next week or so. So always important to know when the games are to kind of figure out your home strategies, plan your away games, things of that nature. But yeah, aside of that, this is the slow time. Is it the same for you? And if it is, let me know in the chat if you feel like, yeah, this is kind of like a little bit of a dead time. Again, sports fan, probably will go to some, I'm going to try my best to go to some dream games this year. Braves, I might. It depends. I probably enjoy watching them more than going to the game up there at Truist, but, to each his own. Just kind of a little bit of a dead period right now. So where are you all with that? So when the Falcons, as far as the Falcons are concerned, I'm sure rookie camp is coming up pretty soon. So we'll see the guys get into that. I'm sure there are still some free agent names out there to talk about as far as if the Falcons plan on, making any moves out there. Do they still plan on maybe boosting up that wide receiver room possibly? No, we got the Braves did add on 2 runs, by the way. So that's cool. 10-6 now, top of the 9th. But are they going to add some more as far as the Falcons are concerned? Are they going to add some more to this team? They're $21 million under the cap as we speak, according to Spot Track, which is a good place to be because if you think about their rookie class, this is where it's cool not to have as many draft picks. One, they don't have a first-round draft pick, which is great. That means you don't have to worry about that inflated guarantee. So you only have 6 players. I apologize. We do have 6 players. 6 players to sign. And none of them should be an astronomical amount to put on the roster. That's kind of a good thing. But as far as everything else concerned, yeah, I know we'll have a little bit of off-season conditioning. You'll have the guys come in a little bit. But really until training camp, that's really when things get flowing. It's just kind of hard to get into it right now. So I'm trying to see, are you in that same boat with me? If it's as a huge Atlanta Falcons fan, is this that part of the year where you kind of get things done around the house? Some projects you might not have planned on doing, but now you say, you know what? Let me do that right quick because I know come football season, it's hard for me. September through January, yeah. Good luck trying to ask me to do a lot. Ask my wife, the beautiful Aunt Kira, who I'm sure I give her a lot of credit. She's had to deal with this for 20 years. Probably from February to August, wide open. But, yeah, September through January, good luck. Or I have to work on good luck with a nice attitude because sometimes it's hard. Oh, baby, I need to do that. Can we wait a little bit? But this is that time of year that it's just kind of tough. But nevertheless, we do have the summer. Baseball is there for the taking. You're going to have a lot of NBA playoffs without the Atlanta Hawks. We'll get to that in a second. But what do you all think? Where are you as far as the Falcons and the offseason and just being that little dead space in between? Speaking of Atlanta Braves, again, 11-6 up on Colorado. Hopefully they can close that out. Sweep. Huge start for the Atlanta Braves, getting ready to be 25-10. Up a zillion games up in the NL East. Bad news on the front. Ronald Acuna hurt again. Just hoping that that's something that doesn't nag. They're showing, I think they're saying right now, 10 days on the disabled list, hamstring, which is could be worse. See how it heals up. Hopefully we can get him back real soon. Spencer Strider came back today. As expected, little rocky, but no pun intended, Colorado. But coming back, nevertheless, another arm. He'll be fine, folks. Let him get in there a little bit. He'll be all right. But how long will this hold up? I also have to remember more than football, of course, and basketball and everything like that. You got a long season. We're only 35 games in. This is what it is, 1/4 of the season. I don't even think it's a fourth yet, right? 70 and 70, 140. No, we're not even a fourth through the season. So great start, better than last year. Because I remember last year we got off to the rough start. Everybody was a little concerned. So I'm glad that at least they're off to a hot start. But what are they going to do after that? Really tough. Really as to what they're going to do. Hopefully they can stay on this heater and ride this thing into the summer. Sometimes the dog days of summer wear you down. And hopefully they can get their mojo back and be ready to make the playoffs again and challenge those big, bad Dodgers, who they played, I think, the end of this week. So we'll see what happens as far as they're concerned. The Atlanta Hawks, I know it still stings. It does. It still stings. Historic loss. They lost the series. But the bright side. We got to look at the bright side because basketball is such a weird time too, because in the playoffs, you got the best of 7 series. I don't care how many points you get beat by. You win one game by 1 point, it still counts. Atlanta Braves hung in there. Atlanta Hawks hung in there as long as they could. But then the real number 3 team showed. And now we look to an offseason where, hey, hopefully next week in the lotto, maybe like a couple of years ago, maybe we could luck up. We don't even have to get the number 1 pick this year. Just get me in that top 3. Get me in that top 3 so we can get one of those stars, AJ or Peterson. Jury's still out on me on Cam Boozer. I like Cam Boozer, but I'm not sure that's what we need on the team. But I guess at this point with the Hawks, you take the best player available at this time. Really would like to see that point guard get upgraded. So more power to them. Then you got a lot of money you can deal with. These are the positives of trading your franchise player. Love some Trae Young, but good move. And I'm sure Trae will tell you the same. Because Trae is probably about to get extended and super paid by the Wizards or somebody else. So more power to him. But did that take all of your Hawks momentum? And I understand still less than a week off of that defeat if you feel that way. It still stings a little bit because it hadn't even been a week yet. So I get it. But I got to look to the positive. You trade away your franchise player and you went on a nice run. You didn't have to worry about the play-in this year. 12 games over 500? Not 12 games over 500. I'm sorry. Yeah. 12 games over 500. So, pretty good ending. Keeping that momentum, that's going to be the big thing, though. What happens after that? And then one thing I've been watching all week that has been a really interesting on the entertainment stat on the Sunday Chill. We try to bend into that a little bit. On the entertainment side, the Michael biopic, man, it's raking in cash. Shout out to T. Will, who he and I were talking about it. T. Will told me, he said that bad boy will make $200, $300 million. I told him, I said, they'll come out the first week, T. Will, and he'll die down about 110, 150. It was the second highest grossing film this week at $54 million in its second week. And so far domestically, U.S., $183 million. Shout out to T. Will for knowing his entertainment. Because that bad boy is going to easily slide over the $200 million in the U.S., which is crazy. The love for Michael still goes on these years and years afterwards. So my question to you is, who is the next big biopic on? I just finished watching, oh, Lord. I'm trying to, Bohemian Rhapsody. Freddie Mercury and Queen. While definitely more about Freddie Mercury specifically than Queen, kind of like Michael, more about Michael than the Jackson, whether it was called Michael, so duh. But Bohemian Rhapsody, of course, you're going to probably think, oh, it's only all about Queen. And it was a good bit about it. But that was a great movie. Jafar, from what I hear, did a phenomenal job imitating his uncle. Probably looks like he's going to be making the award scene set, judging by what people saying. Keep hearing the same critics. I haven't seen it yet. Same people are saying, great portrayal of Michael. So-so story. Which I'm pretty sure, if you guys got to remember, the estate kind of controlled what narrative would be told in this movie. So it's not like they're going to start off with Michael threw the baby out. Michael was holding the baby out the window. Michael was accused of this and accused of that. They're not going to go with that. They're going to keep it as PG as they can to honor the memory of Michael Jackson, as I would understand if I was part of his life, if I was his family. I'm sure his mom had a whole lot to do with that. Janet and Reby didn't have nothing to do with it. They want to be seen, I guess. And I'll check the movie out when it comes on streaming. As I told y'all last week, I'm probably not the greatest run to the movie folks, especially when I'm paying $10 to $15 a month for all these Netflix, Hulu, Prime stuff. So I'll hold tight on it. So who do you think should be the next person to be portrayed in any of these movies? I want to hear what you all think. Appreciate you all joining us here on a Sunday. Again, I am Uncle Steve, here on YouTube, here on Facebook, here on Twitter. Appreciate y'all joining us today. Thanks a whole lot. What are y'all up to? Scott Glover in the house. What's going on, Scott? How you feeling, brother? Thank you for joining us here in Uncle Steve's Lounge, man. It is great to be alive today. Appreciate you joining us, man. Thanks a lot. Mel is in the house. What's going on, Mel? Thank you so much for joining us, brother. He said, Coach is in the house. What's up, Uncle Steve? Do a story on Luther Vandross. That would be interesting. Luther Vandross. And that would be crazy. You know who I think, and I trying to think of the brother's name. He's in, for those of you who watch Jack is it Jack Ryan with John Krasinski? What's the brother's name that plays the adversary? Kind of took the James Earl Jones role from the movies. His name is killing me now, but that actor would really be a good. I'm going to find out what it is. I hate when I do that. Start throwing out names and not remembering who they are. Jack Ryan. That's like Jack Reacher, which is actually a good series as well. But Jack Ryan, Wendell Pierce. That's his name. Wendell Pierce. Wendell Pierce would make a great Luther Vandross to me. That's actually a good one. And really, it's kind of weird, though, because you never hear a lot about Luther's life, his family life, and things of that nature. That would be something. That absolutely. Really cool. Awesome. I say, yeah, I agree with Mel. Luther would be a good one. He has a good story. I've heard Marcus Miller, who did a lot of stuff with Luther back in the day. If you go back and look, a lot of the collabs that were going on, you see Marcus Miller either helped co-write it or produce it. That was one of his partners in crime doing that. Definitely somebody that I would look at and say, yeah, you know what? Luther might be good. My buddy Big Low Country Sports is in the house. What's going on, Big Low? Y'all make sure y'all check out my brother, Big Low Country Sports, on his YouTube channel. Y'all already know who he is. We ought to do a biopic on Big Low Country Sports. And then just to make him feel good, I'll probably play him. I'll portray him, the older Low, because you're going to need the music to sound good. So you probably need me you're probably going to need me to kind of spice it up a little bit, you know? So I would love the fact that Southern Silk would come to the spotlight. I think that would be kind of cool. You know, the person I thought about when they were, talk about, I know they tried to kind of do a little bit of the barge thing, and shout out to BET for doing what I think it was BET that tried to do the little story about Bobby the Barge, which I think was, I don't know, I want to say it was kind of weird. But I think about people from that time, and you start thinking about some of the interesting people. I think I would like to see George Michael. And I know he's had some documentaries about him, but a George Michael doc would be really cool. Yeah, I know we know about his, personal life and stuff a little bit. Had me fooled. I just remember someone why do you think he was talking about a father figure? I don't know. I thought he was talking about his father. He's not the things, I think he was in love. I don't know. I was a little naive then. I didn't know what they were talking about. But I would love to hear his story. Andrew Rigsley is still around. I'm sure he'll get the musical parts of it. But I'd like to hear a story about George Michael, one of my favorites. So that would be kind of interesting. Bigelow he said, I think the biopic should be about Aretha Franklin. That would be a tough one. Because you're going to have the one thing I didn't like when they did the little Whitney part, the Whitney thing, it's almost like the bigger the artist, you can't half step with who you cast. So it would be tough to cast that role. I think the natural thought is to cast that role with a popular singer of now. And really, I mean, name them all. Where you talk about Aretha, Patti LaBelle, Chaka Khan. I think the first thing everybody's going to say, what about Fantasia? But Aretha is going to need something special. They probably have to find somebody on Broadway to do. But that would also be a very interesting story. Aretha Franklin won 8 years in a row, Best R&B Female. 8 years in a row. That's crazy. So I do think that would be an interesting one. I don't know who play her. That would be crazy. Antonio's in the house. What's going on, Antonio? How you doing, brother? He said, what's up, Unc? 2 biopics I would like to see is one about that scumbag Bobby Womack and the other about Stax Records. Okay, rebounded after the Otis Redding Barclays tragedy. You know, somebody was talking to me about that because Otis Redding was just getting ready to blow up. Because Sitting on the Dock of a Bay hit #1 afterwards. And, you know, he wrote Respect for Aretha Franklin. So you really hate that. So that would be very interesting to hear that one. Now, as far as Bobby Womack is concerned, yeah, but that would be interesting too. If he wasn't comedic, I could see Keanu Ivory Wayans. He got that head. You can put that little half wig on. If you think you're lonely now. I used to like that song. Bobby Womack. The bad boy, man. Bigelow talking about Jennifer Hudson for Aretha Franklin. Maybe. I can kind of see that. I can see Jennifer. Jennifer is a little bit of an overactor too, so that might roll in there. So yeah, we could see that. Yeah, Jennifer would be good. Say Jennifer Hudson kind of yells too much. She does. And as great as Aretha used to sing, she didn't seem over the top when you start talking about in person. Her singing personality was huge. But I truly think she was like that church girl that just, when she got on the stage, she lit up. I don't think that was her off stage. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there are stories. But she didn't kind of hit me as, you know, all over the place. But that's why they do the biopic, to see that. My brother Dre in the house, man. What is going on, brother? I hope you're doing all right, man. Good to see you out there. Thank you for joining us in Uncle Steve's Lounge. And those of you who are joining us, thank you all for joining us on this Sunday Chill edition here with your Uncle Steve, talking Atlanta sports, and talking about the question of the day. Who would you like to see a biopic on? Kind of celebrating that Michael Jackson just went over the $180 million mark over the last 2 weekends for his for that big movie. Goodness gracious. So Dre says, what's up, Steve? How about a bio on Marvin Gaye? Now, that would be good. Marvin Gaye. And the Marvin Gaye story, for you all that don't know, and I'm sure my old heads know, you know, killed by his father, man. And I'll never forget that. He got killed on April Fool's Day. remember it like it was yesterday. I was working at Baskin Robbins, and it was on the radio on April Fool's Day. And I remember them coming over the radio and say, hey, I remember the DJ coming on and say, hey, got some breaking news. Marvin Gaye just killed. And he was like, this is not an April Fool's joke. And it turned out, father killed him. Well, crazy. He had just come off the big national anthem thing a couple of years before that. Don't know what I'm talking about? Google it. Greatest, in my opinion, even greater than Whitney to me because it was different. Greatest national anthem of all time at the All-Star game. And his career, period. If you go back, Marvin Gaye, maybe, and depends on what day it is that you wake me up, arguably the best album ever made in the history of recorded music. What's going on? Don't believe me? Turn it on from start to finish. Don't stop. Start to finish. Arguably the best album ever made. Argue it down with me if you don't believe me. I listened to it about a month or so ago just to refresh myself. And every time I listen to it and I say to myself, it sounds as fresh as it did, what was it, 1970? When it came out? But yeah, Marvin Gaye, that would be an interesting one. No doubt. Speaking of Motown, what about my buddy, Stevie? And it's almost weird because sometimes with these biopics, it's gonna make more sense when they've left us. You know, Whitney, Freddie Mercury, as we were just talking about with Queen, Aretha Franklin. It makes more sense. But sometimes you can throw those flowers now. Stevie Wonder is somebody, at first, probably to get somebody to play him, it's going to be crazy. But why not throw him his flowers? David Stark's in the house. What's going on, Dave? How you doing today, brother? Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Sunday Chill. Talking, like I said, talking sports, talking music, talking biopics, talking big money biopics. Bigelow says, I knew you were going to say Stevie Wonder. Well, you knew correctly. Stevie Wonder is only the greatest of all time, in my opinion. So, yeah, you got to put him out there. David says, have they done one on George Michael? They haven't done a biopic. They've done a documentary or two. There was a real good one on Showtime, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago called Freedom. That was really good. Talked about pretty much his life after Wham split up. And then there was also a biography of, a documentary of his world with Wham, with Mr. Ridgely. And the girls, people keep, at the very beginning, the ladies were included in Wham. They showed up everything. So, hey, I give them credit. Yeah, my brother T. Wheel, I mentioned you earlier, T. Wheel. I remember that I gave you credit. If you go back, I don't think I should give you credit twice because I'll give you the big head. But I gave you credit because you told me this movie was going to make $200 million. And it's up to $183 million after this weekend. So give a big, big shout out to our buddy T. Wheel because the money is still rolling in on the biopic. Big Low says they should create a Motown biopic universe like the Marvel universe that leads up to Motown 25. Now, that is actually pretty ingenious. I I'm surprised. That's a very good idea. Yeah, that's actually a good idea. Like all the Diana Ross, Temptations, all of those folks. Good stuff. Good stuff. I think that would be cool. And then all of the backstage stuff at Motown 25, Diana not wanting, taking the mic from Mary Wilson, all that other good stuff. That would be kind of cool. Dre said, do you know if they cleared the one for Richard Pryor? I don't know because that was supposed to be Mike Epps. They talked about that for a long time. So I'm not sure. That's a very good question. I think they had even, if I'm not mistaken, I think I remember Mike Epps saying that they had started filming on it. I could be wrong with that, but I'm almost positive they did say that. But that's a good question, Dre. I need to follow up on that, see if they had. T. Will says, I love George Michael. Yeah, George Michael is the guy. Absolutely. Absolutely. George Michael is, I'm surprised, and this was the person I was thinking about when I came up. I'm surprised nobody said Prince. And you think about the world of Prince and him coming out with a movie, and again, the side part of that is not only coming out with a movie, but who would play them. Because I just don't know who would play Prince. If you had a movie about him in the next couple of years, Timothy Chalamet or whatever his name is, he can't play him. I know he's, light enough, but he couldn't play him. Who would play Prince? Is there a niece or nephew in the DeBarge family that's still coming up? That's probably the closest you'll get to looking like him. So who, I don't know. But Prince would be an awesome story. And people don't realize how long ago. Dude, Soft and Wet was like in 78. That was like a long time ago. And yeah, I think when we think of Prince, I think the association is always with the 80s because that's when he peaked, obviously. But Prince was still rocking in the late 70s. For You, which is one of the most awesome albums of all time. Prince, I could probably rattle off about 3 albums from Prince that I consider top 50 of all time. But Prince would be a good one. And who would play him? I was laughing. I was telling my son about my idea. And I was thinking about Drake. Now I know. Too soon. And you can have some Degrassi highlights of him on Degrassi High. But that's right now, as far as that's concerned, I don't know. And then, quite honestly, I don't even know right now if there's anybody aside of Drake. I don't know if people are going to say Kendrick, but Kendrick had a monstrous couple of years. I'm not sure he's biopic yet. I think Drake probably is. Because as much as Kendrick beat him on the mic and probably will always be known as a better rapper than him, Drake is worldwide. He's still worldwide. And you're going to find out when Iceman comes out in a couple of weeks. And then by no means am I beating the chest for Drake. I'm kind of lukewarm on most post-2000 rap, quite honestly. But at the same time, I don't think you can really anybody right now in the 2000s from the rap scene About Taylor Swift? Is some anorexic young girl? That's terrible. Hold on. Stop it. Stop it, Steve. Stop it. Get some young girl out here to come out, put on a guitar, see if she can pull it off. That would be that. She's coming. That one is coming probably. It probably got to wait a little bit, but she's still peaking. Almost the same for Beyonce. You can't do anything with Beyonce or Taylor Swift at the moment because they're still riding that high right now. I'm gonna tell you somebody else too. In the entertainment that we tend to forget, especially those of us who grew up in the 80s and 90s. Nobody was hotter on the planet for about 3-4 years than Garth Brooks. Garth Brooks, for those of you that remember, Friends in Low Places, Garth Brooks. Garth Brooks was selling albums like nothing. Folks, all his stuff was coming out 10 million sold for about 3, 4, 5 albums. So much so he turned into an alter ego himself. Chris Gaines, go look it up. But that would be somebody interesting. Bigelow says it's too soon for Kendrick. I agree. Way too soon. Way too soon for now. Dexter, what's going on, Dex? How you doing, brother? Good to see you in here. Thank you for joining us here on Uncle Steve's Lounge. I appreciate everyone joining us here on the Sunday Chill. Just talking a little bit, relaxing. No pressure Sunday talk. Throwing stuff out there. Dexter says do a Lil Wayne. Now, Lil Wayne would be kind of interesting. As much as I do appreciate Wayne, I'm not sure Wayne is biopic worthy. I think he's a very popular niche rapper. And I know from I can't say he doesn't have popularity. He does. I don't know. I think the movie would probably be making more fun of him than anything else. When I start thinking about people in his genre, I mean, the only person, and I only say because he's relevant now because of other things, is maybe Snoop. But Snoop hasn't, I mean, Drop It Like It's Hot was mid-2000, early first part of 2000s. But he's probably the only one. That's the only one I can think of. But yeah, nobody in that Juvenile, Master P, as much as he's done for things, I don't know. Maybe look local. The Dungeon Family would be a great overall biopic. If you start thinking about the number of, it would almost be in, not saying Death Row or Bad Boy, but it would be maybe a group project. Have little, Big Boy and Andre running around. So that'd be kind of interesting. Bigelow says Jay-Z or Nas. The mere fact that Jay-Z would probably have to sign off on everything, you're not going to get that until he goes. I want to say the same thing for Nas. Nas doesn't have the cachet. Nas is in the game. Nas is very respected and revered, but not on the Jay-Z global world. And I think that would be hard. That's why this Michael Jackson thing is blowing up, because he's so global. that it's hard for people to, it's going to be hard for people to throw out. Like, again, if you threw the Nas thing, like do it like you did New Edition, that would be on BET or Tubi, maybe. But he's not, in my opinion, on that level. Bigelow, so is Wayne big enough to even be midstream? Yeah. I don't think so. Bigelow says Snoop Dogg would be the rapper. Okay, great minds think alike. Snoop Dogg would be the rapper that everybody relates to. I hear you. Dexter says, I know people don't like him. I hate what he did. I hate where he is in jail, but the greatest R&B man of all time is R. Kelly. What?
Stop the cap.
Yeah, bruh. Come on, bruh. That's bull mess what he did to get locked up for. I hate it. I think there is no doubt, Dexter, that I can't, and I can't sit here and try to pretend like I wasn't rocking to a lot of the stuff that R. Kelly was doing for, that first little beginning part of his career. No doubt. Nobody. And if we're all honest with ourselves, we were all beat bopping to it again. Look, even, the man basically was trying to tell us age ain't nothing but a number. He was basically telling us that when he wrote the song. So it's, there are circumstances that, and I'll even go this far, Dexter. I wouldn't be surprised if it did come out. That would probably, from a standpoint of, he's worldwide, he's well known, and he's infamous. But I will say right now in today's society, that might be it would be almost the equivalent of coming out with an Epstein biopic at this moment. I just don't think it would be in great taste. But I hear what you're saying about talent. The brother was talented. Definitely talented. But not quite sure if the world's going to be ready for that. And then whoever would play him, probably Jamal Bryant. He looks like him. I know people. And let me make it clear, I'm not telling you they have the same personality. But if y'all are in Atlanta, keep it 100. Show me a picture of Jamal Bryant. Show me a picture of R. Kelly. Dude looks like him. He does. I don't think I'm saying anything blasphemous. I don't think I'm saying anything against. I'm just saying. I don't know. I mean, trying to show you I'm not trying to be funny. This brother right here kind of look like him a little bit. Trying to share my thing. Yes. I mean, tell me, am I out of line? He does look like him a little bit. So let me stop that before people start saying, oh, he's talking about us. But he does. Antonio says DMX. Now, DMX would be interesting, very interesting, because one, he passed away. He battled some demons, and nobody can deny his popularity, probably especially within the culture at the end. I'm not sure, and probably, look, nobody is telling you that they can't make these movies. They can make them. But I'm not sure DMX has the worldwide appeal that, people would look at, in my opinion. But DMX is definitely a bad boy, or was a bad boy. Dexter says, I'm a Gerald Levert fan too. Now, Gerald Levert would be very interesting. I think unfortunately for Gerald Levert, as much as Casanova was a huge hit for Levert when they came out, and he definitely had some great R&B, couple of little pop hits that came out from him, but another one that you probably have to throw on BET that you could make, but I'm not sure it would be super on there. And I see Dexter, Missy Elliott. Missy would be interesting too, especially being as revered female rapper. Absolutely. Antonio says, I'm excited about the Hawks' future, but the way they laid down that last game, Jalen Johnson looking like a number 2. Let me tell you something, though. And I respect anybody who has an honest opinion about that game. That game was, I have never seen a game, high school, college, and definitely not in the NBA. When I was looking at one moment, and if y'all watch the game, the Atlanta Hawks were up 11-5. New York scored the first 5 points. Atlanta scored the next 11. The next time I looked up, and I say looked up, but I looked up a couple of times before that. New York was up 50-15. Now, listen to what I said. 1 minute, the Hawks were leading 11-5. A few minutes later, the New York Knicks were up 50-15 early second quarter. That's a 44-4 run, which is ridiculous until I saw Orlando fourth quarter the other day where they missed like 22 shots in a row, which was even crazier than the Hawks. But there are just nothing to say. I was surprised when I saw the little fight between Dyson and Mitchell Robinson, which is crazy because Mitchell Robinson is one of the people I'm thinking about. I wish the Hawks would look because there aren't that many big men on the market unless they make a trade. But Mitchell Robinson is one of the people I'm looking to say they need to bring him in here because he's a free agent, unrestricted free agent next year. But I have to, in the next couple of days, kind of unplug from that loss. It's hard to ignore. It's just Thursday, so we're still a few days from that. But you gotta look big picture with the Hawks. The Hawks traded arguably the second, or maybe it's not arguably, the second greatest player in Atlanta Hawks history in Trae Young. They actually improved. They ended up, if I'm not mistaken, was it 47-35 or somewhere in that world? Secured a 6th place, could have got 5th, which we would have got 5th. And won 2 games, including one in Madison Square Garden. So as horrible as that last game was, I've got to disconnect from that game. We lost 4-2. We didn't get swept. Feels like we got swept, especially losing the last 3 games, but we didn't get swept. But you got to look for the future because out of the teams that made the playoffs, not the play-in, the playoffs, tell me which team between Detroit, Boston, New York, Cleveland, well, maybe Toronto, and Atlanta. Tell me which one was the least thought to make the playoffs. And I know a lot of people thought Toronto was going to be bad this year too, so I might need to add them in. But Atlanta definitely was not one. And especially if you told me they're trading Trae Young. So I like the direction the team was going. We found out we might not be ready for a 7-game series yet, especially against the big. New York ain't going nowhere. Their team is not going anywhere, so you got to learn how to beat them. So I'm not trying to tell you forget about it. I'm not trying to tell you ignore it, but I am telling you that I think is not as doom and gloom as it can be for our future. Look forward to the lottery next week. Hopefully we can get in the top 3. We don't need to get in the, we don't have to get number 1. Be great. When we get number 2 or number 3, that would be great. Easily upgrade the point guard position, which we need. There are no big men worth grabbing in the first 10 picks, not one. So get your future point guard. You got a first round pick later on in the draft from Cleveland, from the DeAndre Hunter trade. And then do what you got to do. Yes, totally disappointed about how that game turned out. But as a whole, I really do like the direction they're going. Antonio said Orlando scored 19 points in the second half of Game 6. That's crazy. Like 2 of the most ridiculous things that you will see in a game happen like two games apart. The Atlanta debacle and you got to start going back to the Hawks. They still got some decisions to make. Do you bring back CJ? Do you bring back Kuminga? As much as I like what both of them did near the end, but neither one of them were part of the base team when they made. I like the idea of possibly Kuminga. It's going to cost you, but I like that idea. And CJ, you got to think realistically. CJ, will he take a veteran's exception? I don't know. You have to see. He said they like it in Atlanta. I'm sure he said that in Washington and in New Orleans before that over the last 3 or 4 years. And I'm pretty sure they're tired of moving. So until we find the one thing we know we're going to get with CJ is we're going to get somebody who's not scared to shoot. I think CJ just tired out at the end. CJ was great, but at the end of the day, I don't know. Destin said my 76 is going to take care of that for them as long as Embiid stay healthy. And what a difference, Dexter, a healthy Embiid makes. And you almost forget. We all forget. When Embiid was at the top of his game, which is right around the time when the Hawks made their run in 21, and we beat them in 7 games. Dude, when Embiid is on, there's not too many people going to stop him. He's going back and forth with Jokic a couple of years ago for the MVP. And it's easy to forget about him because he spent more time hurt than healthy. And boy, what a great time was it for him to get healthy. And what a horrible time for Boston for Tatum to get hurt. Now, but I'll truly say it was before Tatum got hurt. Boston really needs to look in the mirror. Before the playoffs started, my joke was it's going to be Boston versus somebody else. And it turns out that it's going to be somebody else versus somebody else because the East is wild. That's why, from the Hawks standpoint, if they would have made it past this round, they had just as much of a chance to get to the finals as any team in the East. Are you really going to tell me, and not messing with you, Dexter, because, 76, whatever, that's great. But are you going to tell me there's a huge difference between New York, Philly, We'll find out about Cleveland, Toronto in a minute. New York, Philly, Boston, and the winner of this next series coming up tonight. It's really not. There's no over. I think the public is going to say the Knicks because there are 30 million people in the New York area. So the people with the loudest microphones are going to be yelling about it. But is there a world right now? And I'm just going to say for sake that Cleveland, let's say it's Cleveland. New York, Cleveland, Philly, and Detroit. Is there a overwhelming favorite in the East? No, it isn't. Not really. It is anybody. That's why, to me, it was a little disappointing about the Hawks' loss because I just think this was an opportunity to sneak in. Now, you got a chance to get better still. Look at the big picture. You still got some young guns. Jalen will be fine. Jalen he had to go through that first one. Now he knows. Now you got to come back. Probably got to lose another one before you actually understand, oh, this is what we need to do. Can't just give up on Taylor. Taylor Johnson is going to be a nice, not promising he's going to have the total talent of Trey, but Jalen is going to be fine. Got to figure out what to do with Okongwu. As much as he is not a 5, and as great as he's given us some minutes, he's just that tweener that you just got to figure out, is it worth keeping him here until you get a big man, or do we try to trade? While they were saying last year Indiana was going to give up some stuff for him. It would have been nice. I don't know what to say about Ricochet. What are we going to do there? Got to figure something out. Do we still trust the process? Remember, he's only 20. It's not like he's an old guy. Some guys just don't blossom until the 3rd or 4th year. This was the end of his 2nd year. And I know we wanted big results. We wanted Cooper Flag results. We wanted Knipple results. We wanted Stephon Castle results. Sometimes you may have to wait. But he wasn't even in the playoff rotation. I think the Hawks can still be successful, no doubt. But they got to grow up too. They'll be fine. I really, the Hawks are not a major concern of mine. I think they'll be fine. David said, it's like I said, I'm good. They got the 6 games. Let's give our core a little grace because it was their first time in the playoffs. Yeah, you got to. Got to. You got to. It was very disappointing. Again, the way it ended, if the Hawks lose game 6 by 10, this conversation would not be going on. Dare I say, you would probably got some Hawk fans to stand up at the end and clap for him for getting this far. But when you get embarrassed on your home court like that, it's hard to do. But I think overall, man, we're going to be fine. David says Kuminga has some, but it's not really a lot of minutes on the floor. I like Kuminga. Kuminga definitely can add to this team. Kind of just depends on what's going to go on when you start talking about what this team is going to look like next year. Trying to pull them up real quick so we can look at it together. Oh, a second. Let's see what we got here. NBA. Atlanta Hawks. Let's pull up Atlanta Hawks money for next year. Here on Uncle Steve's Lounge, again, appreciate y'all joining me. We just talking, y'all, just shooting the proverbial stuff as we talk about some sports. Man, let me get so y'all can see it because I know I can't. 100. Let's go to 200, and then pull it down a little bit. There we go. Take some of this. Where's all these ads are showing? All these ads coming from. And I did not want the Falcons. I wanted the Hawks. There we go. Atlanta Hawks. There we go. How about that? So, looking at the Hawks situation right now, that's what we're looking at. We got, for the next couple of years, you got Jalen Johnson making $30 million. This is already projected into next year. You got Jalen Johnson, $30 million. Dyson Daniels, he said at $25 million. A lot of people said he had a disappointing season. I thought he was fine. Kuminga still has and I think is that a team option? Club, yeah, that's a team option for Kuminga. So we could actually walk away from Kuminga if we wanted to. Kongwu, we're only paying him $16 million, which may be a good reason to keep him. But you got to listen to some teams. There may be some teams that may want him. He's an undersized center, playing the center position, only 26. But he would be a great piece. We're getting Alexander Walker for peanuts right now. So he's been great. Kispert was, I'm surprised he didn't get into the playoff rotation a lot more at the end. So it'll be interesting to see. And then also Ricochet, just to see what they do with him. That's going to be, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that situation. So the Hawks are in good shape, y'all. They are. Monte Carlo, what's going on, brother? Good to see you. Thank you for joining us here in Uncle Steve's Lounge. Appreciate y'all joining us. He said them losing like that going to force them to look in the mirror and do some real adjustments. They better. They better. I mean, you gotta look at yourself in the mirror and see, yeah, hey, are we good enough to compete with the other teams in the East? I think they are. They just need that big guy. Trying to pull it down a little bit. Dexter says, let's try to get into yeah, right. You basically gonna have to give away the team to get him. You'll probably have to give everyone but Jalen Johnson to get him. Now, I wouldn't mind having them here. I wouldn't mind, but you're gonna have to gut the team. You'll probably have Jalen Johnson. I don't know who else they'll keep. But he would feel a need, no doubt. My brother Joe in the house, man. What's going on, brother? How you feeling today? Thank you for joining us here on Uncle Steve's Lounge. Thank you for joining us on Facebook. And again, those of you joining us, period, make sure y'all hit that like button for your whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, X. We appreciate you. Thank y'all for joining us on here. Dexter says send Zach and a Conqueror. Oh, they're going to want more than that. And some first. Yeah, I mean, you'll probably have to give up. Now, the crazy thing is, like, you would probably have to give up this year's first. I mean, and we're so snake bit from the moves we made from DeJounte Murray a couple of years ago. I'm not sure they're going to be ready to give up a lot of firsts. Giannis is 32. Giannis is also making $60 million. That's a lot. And he's about as about as much of a sure thing as you're going to get in the league. He's in that, he's definitely in the Luka, Shai, Anthony Edwards kind of conversation. Like one of the top 10 players in the league. There's no doubt on that. But you're going to have to pay for that. And I'm not sure. I think Atlanta would rather try to go young. And I say young doesn't necessarily mean all rookies, all whatever, but they're a younger team right now. And I think the nucleus right now, we're talking about like in the mid-20s and stuff like that. I think their thought is, of course, they're missing the size, but to look at what they're doing in OKC with those young guys, Caruso is right at 30 and he's like the senior guy on the team. I think that's the situation they're looking at. I think the Hawks are probably going to try to bring back CJ and then get younger in this draft, get these 2 draft picks, see if they can be some quality folks we can bring in here. Asa Newell, who was the first round pick this year, gave us some good minutes on the court with the Hawks and down in the G League with the Skyhawks. I think he's somebody that you can truly develop inside. And I mean, for real, this is not going to be one of those guys I think that you see 2 or 3 years later jumping around. I think he can really do some things. He just hadn't been able to break through the lineup because they got a lot of people already in place. But I think he can give you some. I would have loved to see him on the court this year. But I think, as with most times, you got to let these guys percolate a little bit. Let them grow. That's what happened this year. You have to let the Hawks grow this year. No need to totally give up on the guys. Let them do like these Atlanta Braves. Atlanta Braves with a young team, grew up. Everybody gave up on them last year. Now look at them, 25-10 out the rip, 11-6 win today at Colorado. Bring on Oakland or Las Vegas, whatever they calling them these days. Not Oakland, Seattle. I'm sorry, not Oakland. They play Seattle. Seattle next. So that ought to be pretty good. But hey, listen, we have enjoyed everyone today here on the Sunday Chill. I came on the Sunday Chill today because it's a possibility I might do the minutia a little late tomorrow. So if y'all do see me tomorrow for the normal Monday minutia, it might be a little later than I'm used to. But so hang in there. I'll try to get a time. I know I got some stuff that goes up that's going to be going on around the normal time I go. I usually try to come on around 7 o'clock on Mondays, but I might in something. So look out for me a little later on in the day tomorrow, but we will try to do the minutia. If we don't, that's why we kind of snuck in here today. If you're joining us and we are not live, please feel free to shoot comments onto the screen. I usually try to answer them as much as I can in a timely manner. So when I see them, I will update them. All the questions are sitting in the entrance for you. So just make sure that you guys and gals take a look at it. I appreciate everyone joining us today. We will hopefully see you tomorrow for the Monday Minutia. I am your Uncle Steve. I appreciate you joining me. Everyone have a blessed rest of the week. Take care. See you.
You're an Uncle Steve.